you said in Python there were disagreements. I know in my comedy career, I just became, with all my different collaborators and creative partners, arguments and fights. And you'd come down to, if someone else was listening to it, they'd think you were insane. You talked about how you'd all argue in Python about, is this the right chair? No, this isn't the right chair. Or, no, the dead parrot should look like this. It shouldn't look like that, because that's not funny, but this is. And I remembered Robert Smigel, one of the just genius people I've been fortunate to work with over the years. I remembered once us going back and forth, arguing about something forever. And this is maybe 30 years ago. And I said, no, but it got a big laugh. And he went, yes, but that's not the kind of laugh we want at that point. And I was thinking, it's a goddamn laugh. What do you mean it's not the laugh we want at that point? But I also understand what he's saying, And so, but anyone else listening outside the door would think, these two idiots, what is their problem? But I think that is the common thread just in this process, if you're trying to do it right, which is...
I think it's a fascinating process. And I had some very good mentors. We used to write jokes for David Frost, and I had Barry Crine, Dick Voss, for people who taught me how to be, what to do and how the ropes. And then you find your own companions who then become argumentative. It really was very argumentative. I mean, sometimes huge blazing rows would break out. But I think that's because if you don't care, it's not important.
Yeah.
And I think I was not very good at standing up, because I was a solo writer in that group. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and that's why I think I got on with George. He was a solo between two big forces of Lennon and McCartney.
Right.
And I was between, Mike and Terry wrote, and John and Graham wrote. And I remember when George came out to the filming of The Life of Brian he'd paid for, he said, how's it going? I said, well, it's all right. It's hard to get on screen, with Michael Palin and John Cleese. He said, imagine how it was trying to get into the studio with Lennon and McCartney.
Mic drop.
Said, okay, you got it. I got it.
You think you have problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cry me a river. This is, and we don't have to talk about this, but it's something that as a lifelong, someone who's been so influenced and awed by Python, I think of it as sort of Santa Claus, like a child. I just want to believe that everyone's getting along. And you and Cleese famously lately have had your disagreements and that have come out in public. And I know I'll think, I don't want mommy and daddy to fight, but that's childlike of me, because you're human beings that disagree, and you've known each other a long time.
We don't disagree about comedy.
Mm-hmm.
This is only about money.
Yeah.
This is only about business.
Yeah.
And there's no reason. I mean, a fool and his money are easy parted, six of us, much more quickly. I mean, I think there's no right or wrong way to deal with business. And if somebody has one view of it and somebody doesn't and somebody has another, those can lead to very bad arguments.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we don't see each other enough. I haven't seen them in 10 years. And if
it's
you
been
don't
10 years since you saw John?
9 since John, 10 since Mike. If you don't sit across the table and know that person and what decade they're in, mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of room for disagreement. We're just old. And it's like we never disagreed on the very important things, on what was funny.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But that was a while ago.
There's a misconception that anyone could have, which is, wait a minute, Monty Python, the most, in my opinion, influential show of all time. And then that led to these movies, which are, in my opinion, flawless and beautiful and fantastic. And that you've all gone on to these things. And then, of course, Spamalot, a huge hit. And you talk about how there's this perception that, everyone in Python must be driving around in Bentleys with cash, in convertibles with cash just flying out. And that you say, we're all touring to keep, at this age, to keep it going. And that's a misconception that people can have.
I think so, because it sort of depends what sort of deals you have, and nowadays residuals are becoming a thing of the past. They've got rid of all the music residuals. You've got Spotify and YouTube. Everything takes everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very difficult. I don't mind it because I quite like doing what I do. I quite like going out there and making people laugh. See if I can still make them laugh, because I think that's a sort of little joy that we get.
Yeah.
I think it's a secret little joy. We're all comedy junkies, laugh junkies, and so I'm about to go and do a tour of Australia and New Zealand, and I've got some really wonderful surprises. I like surprising people. I like making my shows about something, so there's like a through line. I was with Professor Brian Cox last week, and he said he's doing a show, and he said, "What's yours about?" And I said, "Mine's about the meaning of life." And he said, "Well, so is mine." I said, "Yeah, but mine will be deep."